The air in the great city of Tenochtitlan, vibrant and alive with the hum of aerial transport and the scent of xocolotl from bustling cafes, flowed between structures that defied European architectural norms. Pyramids of obsidian and basalt, their ancient stepped forms now integrated with shimmering solar panels and advanced bioluminescent lighting, soared towards the clear sky. Vertical farms, gleaming with hydroponic systems, cascaded down their sides, feeding a population that numbered in the tens of millions. The language spoken, a sophisticated evolution of Nahuatl, resonated with a complex tonal beauty, its intricate grammar reflecting millennia of uninterrupted cultural development. It was May 2025, and Tenochtitlan was the gleaming capital of the Anahuac Alliance, a powerful confederation that dominated Mesoamerica, a testament to a world where the continents of the West had never been discovered or colonized by the powers of the East. The pivotal divergence point occurred in the late 15th and early 16th centuries CE. For a confluence of reasons, sustained transatlantic contact between Europe and the Americas simply never materialized. Perhaps a series of devastating, unrelated plagues decimated European coastal populations, hindering large-scale maritime expeditions. Perhaps early, isolated exploratory voyages from Europe met with such overwhelming natural disasters or indigenous resistance that the Sea of Darkness became too daunting, a legend of peril rather than opportunity. Or perhaps, due to subtle changes in oceanic currents or prevailing winds, the Atlantic became an even more formidable barrier. Whatever the cause, the fleets of Columbus, da Gama, and their successors never established enduring routes or settlements in the Western Hemisphere. The indigenous civilizations of North, Central, and South America continued to develop independently, free from the devastating impact of old world diseases, technologies of conquest like steel weapons and gunpowder, and the relentless geopolitical pressures of European expansion. The consequences of this isolation rippled across 5 centuries, fundamentally reshaping global history. Without the shock of European invasion, the great civilizations of the American continents evolved along their own trajectories, creating societies deeply integrated with their environments and driven by unique intellectual pursuits. In Mesoamerica, the Anahuac Alliance, a more broadly federated and perhaps less tribute-driven successor to the Aztec Triple Alliance, expanded its influence through diplomacy, shared knowledge, and trade rather than conquest. Its urban centers, like Tenochtitlan, became marvels of sustainable engineering, meticulously planned to coexist with nature. Here, the stepped pyramids of old had been re-envisioned, their ancient forms now integrated with shimmering arrays of photovoltaic obsidian that captured the sun's energy, while advanced bioluminescent lichen coated their lower levels, providing gentle, ecologically friendly illumination at night. The urban fabric was crisscrossed by sophisticated water management systems, not just aqueducts, but intricate networks of purification lakes, rainwater harvesting towers, and subterranean reservoirs that recycled every drop. The Alliance's mastery of terraced agriculture, perfected over millennia, was supplemented by vast vertical farms where nutrient-rich hydroponic systems cascaded down the sides of structures, feeding the tens of millions who called these cities home. Their scientific revolution emphasized biomimicry and ecological balance over sheer extractive power. Engineers studied insect colonies for structural efficiency, plant growth for energy storage, and hydrological cycles for urban planning. Education focused heavily on ecological sciences, complex mathematics tied to astronomical cycles, and the arts, promoting a holistic understanding of the world. Civic life in the Anahuac Alliance was characterized by highly participatory governance structures, with neighborhood councils electing representatives to citywide and then alliance-wide assemblies, ensuring that policy decisions resonated with the needs of the populace. Public spaces were vibrant, dedicated to communal gatherings, artistic performances, and intellectual debates. The scent of zocolotl, a refined, spiced beverage, often wafted from bustling cafes, serving as centers of social and intellectual exchange. Their aerial transport, silent and emission-free, was powered by a combination of refined biofuels harvested from dedicated energy crops and atmospheric energy harvesting, allowing for efficient movement within and between cities. Genetic engineering, applied to plant life, allowed for the development of climate-resistant maize strains and high-yield, protein-rich crops that could thrive in diverse microclimates, securing food sovereignty for the entire alliance. Artistic expressions, deeply symbolic and vibrant, often incorporated biomimetic forms and fractal geometries, reflecting their scientific understanding of nature's patterns. To the south, the Tawantinsuyu Empire, Inca, in the Andes, continued its expansion and refinement, building upon its already unparalleled administrative efficiency and vast road networks. Their administrative model, originally centralized, had evolved into a more decentralized but intricately interconnected system, where regional councils managed resources and disputes with remarkable efficiency, all recorded and transmitted through an advanced evolution of their quipu system. These quipu, once knotted cords for accounting, had become complex biocomputational logics, capable of storing vast datasets, simulating complex economic models, and even assisting in architectural design, perhaps even incorporating quantum principles into their fibrous structures. These living archives could be physically transported or read remotely through sophisticated haptic and optical interfaces. Their sophisticated agricultural techniques, including large-scale terracing and advanced crop breeding for high-altitude environments, were further developed, allowing for surplus production that sustained their massive population. Beyond food, they cultivated diverse medicinal plants, leading to a profound understanding of natural pharmacology and the development of advanced herbal remedies and non-invasive surgical techniques. Their metallurgy, which once pioneered bronze, had advanced to unique, lightweight alloys and even electric smelting from abundant geothermal sources, revolutionizing their construction and tool-making. The Inca built towering structures designed to withstand the region's seismic activity, integrating flexible, self-repairing materials derived from volcanic basalt and specially treated plant fibers. These structures were not just strong, but aesthetically breathtaking, with intricate stonework that seemed to grow organically from the mountainsides. Their social welfare system, rooted in communal responsibility and equitable resource distribution, ensured high standards of living, health, and education for all citizens, from the highland farmers to the coastal artisans. Intellectual pursuits focused on applied sciences, complex mathematics, including advanced forms of geometry and topology, and a profound cosmology that integrated celestial observations with terrestrial realities, guiding everything from agricultural cycles to urban planning. The network of Chasqui, the imperial runners, had evolved into a system of highly trained data couriers, capable of carrying both physical quipus and encoded verbal messages across vast distances with incredible speed and accuracy. In North America, the Great Confederations flourished, stretching from coast to coast. The Great Lakes Federation, a vastly expanded successor to the Iroquois Confederacy, established sophisticated diplomatic networks and trade routes across the continent. Their emphasis on consensus-based governance and sustainable resource management created vast, interconnected societies living in harmony with abundant ecosystems. Rather than urban sprawl, their settlements were integrated into the landscape, with advanced seasonal agriculture and nomadic settled hybrids that respected natural cycles. They developed unique forms of energy generation from biofuels derived from fast-growing, non-food crops, alongside advanced understanding of wind and hydropower, utilizing meticulously engineered turbines integrated with natural waterways and subtle air currents. Further west, the Great Plains Council, a powerful successor to Mississippian cultures, mastered advanced material science, utilizing unique composites from natural fibers, resins, and sustainably mined minerals to create lightweight, durable structures and tools, often incorporating intelligent, self-repairing properties inspired by biological systems. Their societies maintained vast, intact ecosystems, nurturing sprawling forests, thriving wildlife populations, and different patterns of human-managed landscapes that exemplify deep ecological stewardship. Justice systems in these confederations often focused on restorative practices, emphasizing community healing and reconciliation over punitive measures. Education was deeply experiential, blending traditional knowledge of flora, fauna, and celestial navigation with advanced scientific principles and diplomatic training, often conducted in outdoor classrooms or through immersive apprenticeships within the natural environment. Their societies were built on interconnectedness, respecting the diversity of life and fostering a deep spiritual connection to the land that guided their innovations and societal values. Populations across the continents remained vast, estimated in the hundreds of millions by the 20th century, living in diverse, thriving cultures that had charted their own distinct paths of progress. Meanwhile, Europe, without the immense wealth extracted from the Americas, gold, silver, cash crops like sugar and tobacco, developed a drastically different economic and geopolitical trajectory. The very concept of New World wealth never fueled the rapid accumulation of capital that spurred early industrialization in our timeline, meaning the initial impetus for global colonial expansion was significantly muted. Spain and Portugal, without their vast colonial empires, were significantly curtailed on the global stage. Their internal political development remained largely agrarian and localized, fostering stronger regional identities rather than unified national ambitions. While still powerful regional players, their navies focused more on Mediterranean trade and limited Atlantic fishing rather than grand exploratory voyages. The transatlantic slave trade, a devastating institution in our history, simply never occurred, profoundly impacting African demographics and societal development in a positive way. The absence of this massive influx of free labor and capital meant European industrialization was delayed by centuries, or took a fundamentally different form. It was less reliant on colonial resources and captive markets, focusing instead on internal innovation, often on a smaller, more artisanal scale. Steam power and early mechanization certainly emerged, but without the global demand for mass-produced goods, industrial centers were smaller and the associated environmental impact was far less severe. Factories often specialized in high-quality, durable goods, emphasizing craftsmanship over sheer volume. The focus was on refining existing processes and optimizing efficiency for local markets, leading to incremental rather than revolutionary technological leaps. European rivalry shifted, intensifying competition for trade and territory in Africa and Asia, though likely without the same overwhelming resource advantage from the Americas, making European colonization attempts in those regions potentially less successful or different in nature, often resembling fortified trading posts rather than vast territorial conquests. The Reformation played out differently, without the distraction of New World expansion. Religious wars persisted longer, fracturing the continent into smaller, more ideologically defined states. The Consortium of Atlantic States, a loose confederation of European nations that emerged in the 19th and 20th centuries, reflected this fragmented history, prioritizing trade agreements and shared defense over deep political integration. Culturally and scientifically, Europe developed in isolation from the Americas. They never experienced the Columbian exchange, no potatoes, corn, tomatoes, or chocolate to revolutionize their diets. This dramatically altered agricultural practices, leading to a greater reliance on traditional grains, root vegetables, and livestock, influencing culinary traditions and even demographic growth patterns, which might have been slower without high-yield American crops. European scientific inquiry focused on different areas, without the influx of new species, minerals, and astronomical observations from the Americas. Their technological advancements lean towards precision mechanics, clockwork, and intricate textile machinery, often driven by guild traditions and artisanal craftsmanship rather than mass production. Urban centers were smaller, more organic, and retained more of their medieval character. The concept of progress was often tied to philosophical and theological debates rather than purely empirical, resource-driven innovation. Artistic movements continued their internal evolutions with a stronger emphasis on classical forms, local folklore, and religious themes, without the external influence of radically new forms of art, music, and symbolism from the Americas. Their militaries, while advanced, focused on fortified defenses and specialized land armies rather than global naval dominance, reflecting a more inward-looking, strategic posture. In contrast to Europe's trajectory, and without the vast wealth and global shift of power towards Europe facilitated by American colonization, Asia remained the global economic and technological powerhouse for much longer, essentially maintaining its historical trajectory of dominance until well into the 20th century. Empires like the Ming and Qing dynasties in China, the Mughal Empire in India, and the various Islamic caliphates continued their internal development, maintaining their technological and economic lead for centuries. In East Asia, the Chinese empires, free from the opium wars and external pressures, continued their advancements in ceramics, silk production, and early forms of automation powered by sophisticated hydraulics and clockwork mechanisms. Their intellectual pursuits focused on complex philosophical systems, advanced medicine, and large-scale public works projects, including ambitious lunar observatories and sophisticated seismic monitoring networks. The Pan-Asian Confederacy, a powerful economic and cultural bloc that emerged in the later centuries, fostered unprecedented scientific collaboration, leading to breakthroughs in magnetic levitation transport, advanced ceramics for energy storage, and early forms of cognitive computing inspired by complex calligraphic systems. Their philosophical traditions, emphasizing harmony and balance, guided their technological development, leading to innovations that sought to augment, rather than dominate, natural systems. Similarly, the Mughal Empire in India refined its textile production, metallurgy, and architectural marvels. Indian mathematics and astronomy continued to lead global thought for centuries, fostering innovations in materials science, complex algorithms, and urban planning. The Greater Indian Federation, a political and economic powerhouse, excelled in quantum mechanics and theoretical physics, developing sophisticated communication networks based on entangled particles. Global trade routes continued to center on the thriving Silk Roads and Indian Ocean networks, connecting vast markets from the Red Sea to the South China Sea. Maritime trade flourished, with massive fleets of technologically advanced junks and dhows dominating global commerce, their sails often woven with advanced solar harvesting fibers. Cultural exchange between Asian empires was vibrant, leading to diverse artistic movements, scientific breakthroughs, and the widespread adoption of philosophical ideas that emphasized enlightenment and societal contribution. Similarly, African societies, free from the ravages of the transatlantic slave trade, maintained their demographic strength and continued their own paths of development, engaging in different forms of trade and interaction with Europe and Asia. Empires like Mali, Songhai, and Great Zimbabwe continued to expand, flourish, and develop unique forms of governance and urban planning. The Songhai Empire, for example, perfected advanced irrigation systems for large-scale agriculture in the Niger River region, transforming vast arid zones into fertile farmlands, while Great Zimbabwe developed unique architectural techniques for stone construction that blended seamlessly with the natural landscape, often incorporating passive climate control. The various Islamic caliphates across North Africa and the Middle East maintained their vast intellectual networks, preserving and expanding upon ancient knowledge, contributing significantly to mathematics, medicine, and cartography, including early forms of computational fluid dynamics for intricate water systems. The continent saw the rise of new powerful kingdoms, fostering diverse trade routes that traversed the Sahara, connecting to the East African coast and beyond. The Sahelian Union, a confederation of West African states, pioneered advanced solar thermal energy capture and desalination technologies, transforming arid regions. The Great Congo Kingdom in Central Africa developed unique forms of sustainable forestry and advanced material science based on indigenous plant knowledge, leading to the creation of incredibly durable and lightweight building materials. African metallurgy, especially in West Africa, continued its sophisticated development, leading to advanced iron and bronze work, alongside unique forms of sustainable resource management that preserved their rich biodiversity. Their vibrant artistic traditions, oral histories, and intricate social structures continued to evolve without the profound disruption of colonial exploitation, fostering a deep cultural resilience and independent technological trajectory. As a result, in 2025, the world had become a truly multipolar entity. The Anahuac Alliance and the Tawantinsuyu Empire in the Americas stood as major global powers, their unique technological advancements and cultural philosophies contributing to a rich global tapestry. Alongside them were the powerful empires of Asia, the formidable Pan-Asian Confederacy, and the Greater Indian Federation, and diverse, strong African nations like the Sahelian Union and the Great Congo Kingdom. Europe, while technologically advanced in its own right, was one of many powerful regions, its influence balanced by the thriving civilizations of the other continents. Global trade routes were complex, interwoven networks. Goods moved not just from east to west, but in intricate patterns between all continents. Specialized alloys from the Andes, bioengineered crops from Mesoamerica, intricate textiles from India, advanced ceramics from China, rare minerals from Africa, and precision instruments from Europe. There was no single dominant economic or military power. Instead, diplomatic and cultural exchanges were truly multi-directional. Global forums such as the Universal Concord Council in Kyoto and the Earth Stewardship Summit in Tenochtitlan were crucial for resolving disputes and addressing shared challenges like localized resource scarcity, emergent diseases, and even managing the lingering atmospheric effects of early, less regulated industrialization that occurred on some continents. Education was globally emphasized, with scholars from every continent contributing to a collective pool of knowledge through vast digital libraries and frequent intercontinental summits. There was a shared global understanding of different philosophical approaches to technology and societal organization. The American emphasis on biomimicry and ecological integration, the Asian focus on systemic efficiency and social harmony, the African tradition of community-based innovation, and the European pursuit of precision and logical systems. Everyday life across this multipolar world reflected a deep sense of cultural identity and regional self-sufficiency, yet with an open embrace of global exchange. Food cultures, unmixed by the Columbian exchange, retained their distinctiveness, but were enriched by sophisticated trade of specialized ingredients. Communication technologies, while advanced, often incorporated elements unique to each region. For instance, visual tonal interfaces in Nahuatl-speaking areas, or intricate haptic quipu-like devices in the Andes. Public health initiatives were collaborative, drawing on diverse medical traditions, from indigenous pharmacology to advanced genomic research. While space exploration was in its nascent stages, it was a truly international endeavor, with modular components contributed by different alliances, reflecting a shared human ambition to reach for the stars, unmarred by past conflicts or resource-driven competition. This very concept was a central theme at the Global Knowledge Exchange Summit in Beijing, a grand international congress bringing together the brightest minds from across the globe. This event served as a true scholars' exchange, offering echoes of unwritten chapters in history, where diverse civilizations could finally meet as equals. Dr. Salaxachitl, a leading ethnobotanist and cultural liaison from the Anahuac Alliance, stood before a holographic display, her image projected across the vast auditorium. Her research, showcasing Anahuac's advanced agroengineering, particularly their vertical cultivation towers and bioengineered climate-resistant maize strains, drew murmurs of appreciation from the diverse international audience. Her eyes shone with a quiet pride as she spoke of her people's ingenuity, and she occasionally, almost unconsciously, touched the obsidian ring on her finger, a subtle gesture of connection to ancestral strength. Her traditional woven clothing, subtly integrated with smart fabric technology, reflected the seamless blend of heritage and innovation that defined her civilization. A digital hum, almost imperceptible, emanated from the fabric, indicating active data streams and environmental sensors. After her presentation, during a Q&A session on global history, she engaged with Dr. Alistair Finch, a historian from the Consortium of Atlantic States, a loose confederation of European nations, none of which had achieved overwhelming global dominance. Dr. Finch, a man of meticulous habits, adjusted his spectacles with a slight sigh that hinted at deep, perhaps unresolved, contemplation about the path his continent had taken. His gaze lingered on Tlaxcalchitl's traditional attire for a moment longer than strictly necessary, betraying an academic interest that stretched beyond the formal question, a silent fascination with a culture so profoundly different from his own, one that had clearly thrived without the European model of progress. Dr. Finch, Tlaxcalchitl began, her voice calm and articulate, with a barely perceptible note of curiosity. Your historical narratives often describe a period of great European expansion in your 16th and 17th centuries, focused on establishing trade routes and, as your records indicate, encountering new lands to the west. Could you elaborate on what prevented your ancestors from establishing significant, enduring contact with our continents, given their evident maritime ambitions? Finch cleared his throat, his usual reserved tone carrying a surprising weight as he responded. He clasped his hands behind his back, a professor's stance. A fascinating point, Dr. Tlaxcalchitl. Our historical records suggest a series of early exploratory attempts met with unforeseen challenges. Severe Atlantic storms, coupled with a virulent, unknown ailment that repeatedly decimated crews upon return to European ports, seemed to deter sustained efforts. The Atlantic sickness, as our scholars came to call it, was particularly brutal, often causing fatal fevers and pulmonary distress in seasoned sailors, effectively turning each exploratory venture into a gamble of life and death with very poor odds. Perhaps, he mused, a flicker of something akin to awe in his eyes, it was simply fate, a geographical barrier that became an almost mythical deterrent. He paused, considering. Furthermore, early reports, albeit fleeting and often sensationalized, of the formidable scale and complexity of your own societies, even from initial, isolated contacts, likely disincentivized large-scale, direct confrontation. Our age of exploration therefore pivoted sharply towards the east, solidifying existing trade routes and expanding into African and Asian territories already familiar from prior interactions, albeit under very different terms than in our own historical parallel. He adjusted his spectacles again, a nervous habit, as if sifting through the vast libraries of European history for a more satisfying, less preordained answer. Tlaxcalchitl nodded slowly, acknowledging his answer, a faint, almost imperceptible smile playing on her lips. Indeed. From our perspective, the eastern continents remained largely abstract until much later centuries, their peoples known mostly through sporadic encounters with occasional isolated vessels, often bearing individuals gravely ill from unfamiliar diseases. Our own chronicles describe them as sea wanderers, sometimes desperate, sometimes bearing intriguing trinkets, but never posing a significant threat to our established alliances or expanding agricultural networks. We observe them with a degree of academic curiosity, cataloging their unfamiliar flora and fauna, and occasionally sharing knowledge of medicinal herbs for their ailments. She paused, then her smile widened slightly. It's a curious counterfactual, isn't it? To imagine a history where our peoples encountered each other under entirely different circumstances. The environmental toll of your early industrialization, as revealed by your shared historical climate data, for instance, stands in stark contrast to our own bio-integrated urban planning and sustainable energy matrices. The initial centuries of your industrial growth, fueled by coal and later petroleum, left significant marks on the global atmosphere, marks we are all now collectively working to mitigate. There was no accusation in her voice, only a statement of fact, a shared historical observation that transcended continental boundaries. Perhaps the absence of initial direct conflict allowed for different societal values to take root on both sides of the great ocean. Your ancestors' focus on dominion over nature, as some of your texts suggest, versus our own emphasis on harmony with the living world, led to very different technological and social pathways. We learned early on the consequences of imbalance, perhaps from a history of managing cyclical droughts and the needs of large populations within finite ecological boundaries. This led us to seek solutions within nature's designs rather than attempting to conquer them. Finch listened intently, a flicker of professional admiration in his eyes. He nodded slowly, a genuine understanding dawning on him. A stark difference indeed. While our advancements brought great material progress, they also brought challenges we are only now fully confronting. The concept of dominion led to unparalleled innovation, yes, but also to a certain blindness regarding ecological limits. Your approach, Dr. Siloxochitl, offers invaluable lessons for our own future development, especially as we within the consortium strive for greater sustainability and a reintegration of our societies with natural systems. We have much to learn from your ancient wisdom, now made vibrantly modern. He gestured vaguely to his colleagues in the European delegation, a subtle nod of respect for their shared, yet divergent intellectual journeys. As the summit continued, the exchange between Siloxochitl and Finch highlighted the profound depth of their world's divergence. Their civilizations, separated by an uncrossed ocean for centuries, had developed independently, fostering a true plurality of human experience. The Anahuac Alliance, the Tawantinsuyu Empire, and the other great powers of the Americas stood proudly alongside their counterparts from the eastern continents, shaping a 2025 where history's greatest unwritten chapter had led to a richer, more diverse global story. This world was a testament to the myriad ways human ingenuity could flourish when allowed to chart its own course, unburdened by external impositions. It was a world of complex, interconnected histories where every continent held its own distinct wisdom, contributing to a tapestry of human achievement far richer than any single narrative could encompass.